almost 50 years of Motley, and you start a company called Motley Movies. You make a short film, Man, Woman, and then you produce a film like this one. So, what draws you to that medium in this time, and why this film?
Um, well, I made Man Woman because that was a real life story which happened between two friends of mine. And I just thought it would make a wonderful story. It is a wonderful story. And I didn't want to act in it myself because I think it's too much of a burden to try that. I hadn't planned to launch Motley Movies as as an organization or anything until I met with Harish and learned about his travels, his work, the research he's been doing. And I was very moved by what he told me about himself and about his concerns. And again, I think we lost contact for a while, but then he came back to me with the suggestion that this is a movie that I want to make and Tejpal will be directing it. And so I just said yes instinctively. I've always believed that the only significant purpose cinema can serve is to act as a record of its times. And this seemed right up that alley. It just seemed to me a film that is crying out to be made. And of course we had they had to make it on a very shoestring, starvation budget. But I know all about such films. And I was very happy that it got made successfully. I, as Shirish Joshi himself confessed, I'm not a researcher on climate. I don't know much about the technicalities of it. I've learned what I have learned from Harish and from my own experiences of not having seen a blue sky in this city for months. The sea here, it looks like gum. It started snowing in places where it never used to rain. It started raining in places where people's homes are not prepared for the rains. And so it did set me thinking there are days when unseasonal rains ruin the mango crop or the rice crop. These are things that I didn't encounter. And though I have to confess, I am one of the guilty party. We don't live in an air-conditioned house, but we have done our bit to pollute the atmosphere. I don't know what amends we can make, but I think it's important to at least realize that you're doing this. And maybe find a solution for the future and for ourselves, really. As one of my favorite stand-up comics called George Carlin says, we have climatologists who are worrying about the survival of the Earth. Because the Earth has survived for millions of years with and without humans. It's survived ice storms, it has survived firestorms, it has survived hits from outer space, it has survived floods, it has survived earthquakes, it has survived everything. We don't need to worry about the Earth can look after itself, we should worry about ourselves. We are the ones who are going to be affected ultimately. And this statement had a great impact on me, so I just decided to do my bit, which is all at the moment that I can do. I'm committed to a certain kind of work, and I felt that making this film was a natural follow-up to what I believed.
Thank you. You speak of the carbon footprint that all of us leave behind and we can't escape. So, Tej, a film that has probably the smallest carbon footprint of films that I've seen in recent times. Can you make it on a starvation budget? Most of your films before this have been from a child's perspective. What brought this shift to a subject of this sort?
So for me, as a child, what I see is an honest expression. क्योंकि एक बच्चे में ना एक खूबसूरती होती है उसकी आईज में, वो कभी डिसऑनेस्ट नहीं हो सकता. एंड जैसे जैसे हम बड़े होते जाते हैं एंड हम बहुत सारे लेयर्स आते जाते हैं जो चीज़ों को छुपाने के, गलत बोलने के, गलत तरीके से पोर्ट्रे करने के. सो बचपन से ही मुझे लगा है कि एज अ चाइल्ड बिकॉज आई वाज बोर्न एंड रेज्ड इन अ स्मॉल विलेज, आई एम अ फार्मर्स सन, एंड मेरे को दादा दादी ने बड़ा किया. तो पहली कहानी जब मैंने किराक की थी, तो मैं जब बहुत छोटा था तो मुझे when my daddy passed away, I was 13, 14 years old. So that death had an impact on me. I felt emptiness inside me, which somehow I could not address. And मैंने questions raise किए लोगों से, मतलब आसपास के कोई सही आंसर नहीं देता हमेशा डेथ के बारे में. नहीं बोलते कि तारी बन गई चला गया, बट वो हमेशा मेरे अंदर रह गया. तो somehow when I started writing, that's when I could address that, and so on. And for this film, it's something Harish has inspired me to do this. And from the because sir ne bola, Shishir sir ne bola कि you don't know about much about climate change. As a storyteller, how I can contribute to this, I can write stories, and I have such big support from sir, and then Civic Studios came on board. They supported us and made this film happen. So I will go on telling stories about relevant issues, of course. So
Harish, everybody's talking about you on this panel. So you seem to be the powerhouse that set this ball in motion. So just tell us where that impulse, that first instinct to tell stories around this came from. Because you know, subjects like this or even issues like this, they're just so overwhelming and so ubiquitous and so everywhere that most of us don't know where to begin. How do you find that starting point? That okay, let's tell a story, let's make a film, let's get these kind of people together.
I think with climate, what happens is why it's happening and how it affects actually is very simple. It's just that we've lost it in all the intellectual stuff that happens around it. I've known Tej for a good some time now. We basically work out the same cafe in many ways, and that's how I bumped into him. But for 5 years now, I've seen him come and write every day. I've had the pleasure of reading his scripts here and there once in a while. But we've been good friends. So I think it's a conversation that this guy and I've had over these years, because I was working on my bunch of ideas, he was working on his stuff. It's a lot of that conversation. There were just random conversations around, like I would talk to him about all the frustrating things that are happening, all the good things that are happening in climate, what I'm up to, and I think he probably absorbed all of that. And at some point he came back saying that I've written this, how does it feel? Sort of thing. With Naseer sir, I've interacted with him before. So I think 2021, I was in an Antarctica expedition. He was a big support at that point in time for me. This was a climate experiment of sorts. So I remember sir was very intrigued and he really wanted to do that conversation. When you work in climate, you very frequently come across individuals who are not really, like, they're all curious, but then the questions are not far off. But he had really spot on questions right from the first conversation. So I knew that he was quite in it. I'm like, at least I could feel that he was concerned and he felt the need to know more without just, he was willing to listen to the things that were happening. So I think that is how, so there was these very organic networks that have played out. I've been working with, so I've done a lot of writing, basically experimenting with different media in terms of how do you bring the conversation to public discourse in the most simplest form. Because like we have these other tools where we have all these very dense conversations, and that will happen because there are things around policy that are dense, but it doesn't have to be that. But I think the entry point into the conversation doesn't have to be that dense. It can be simple. The script that he put in was brilliant. If you notice, it touches all the points, and it touches the whole idea of growth and unprecedented growth, the fact that it's us and our emissions that are causing it, it's not nature, that there is an inequity in how it's going to affect. There are certain sections of the society that will survive its worst form, and some will not. And so I'm like, these are things that everything was right there on the script in many ways. So it just felt very natural to just come on the project and then to give this man a call saying that, would you want to do this? I think this is a good way to doing this. So it just very organically flew. And it's very organic in that sense.
Yeah, because a film in what, under 12 minutes, 13 minutes touches upon
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
every bullet
Yeah.
point that needs to be
Yeah,
touched.
exactly.
Almost impossible to do in a story.
Yeah, and just to add, I think Tej, the idea was that it was not, the whole idea of the film was to say that everybody gets it. They may not use the jargon, but they get it. Everybody gets it. You don't need to know the high technical words, right? You know that it's coming. You know that some suffer more than the others. You know why it's happening. We can talk about markets and all that stuff, but there is no doubt that you don't need that language to understand what's going on and how you can come out of all of this. I think Tej did a wonderful job with how he wrote the dialogues without any jargon. We were very conscious that we would not use any climate jargon throughout the film. It was just common understanding, common language, because everybody gets it.
Shishir, this thing that Harish is saying, that everybody gets it, everybody knows that we are facing an apocalypse, everybody knows that, as Naseer Saab said, that everybody is going to die, the planet will carry on. Yet, there are people in power who don't want to address this, and yet you and your group carry on relentlessly as volunteers. Where do you find that stamina and this particular journey with storytelling? Where do you see this going? How far can you guys take this?
We can go quite far. You started off this by saying that, this movie touches. It didn't touch me, it hit me. One, your Naseer said there's a pauda. But, there's a pauda in all of us. Whatever the age is, it's never too late to start. That's the other part I'd like to take away. And as you said that, I'm doing my bit. That way, and that's the strength that we get. Because can we, in each one of us, can we do our bit? Now, the challenge is, I may not know what emissions are all about. So many of us may not know. But, which is okay, absolutely. But there's something I can do. When we started off with Project Mumbai, our strength was, there is a kindness in everyone. We all have, and I think Munna bhai has so many haddiyas har ek ke shareer mein hoti hai. Usme ek haddi kindness ki hoti hai. Can we start using that kindness born in all of us? Our effort is to make Mumbai the country's kindness capital. My kindness can be, now in this movie, each one of us can pick out something. I might see the innocence of that little girl. Somebody could see the hard work that lady is doing cooking. Or the traffic policeman. हर एक का नजरिया अलग होगा. मेरी नजर से मैं क्या कर सकता हूं अगर मैंने वहां से शुरू कर दिया. मैंने नसीर साहब ने जो करना है मैंने नहीं करना है. मैं जो कर सकता हूं करना है. Now just to give a small example, can I start carrying a bottle of water if you're traveling by car? Please remember, don't change your lives. Don't say अब से मैं कार में जाना बंद करूंगा, अब से मैं पैदल जाऊंगा. Don't try to put yourself through those hardships that you'll kill yourself. But if you're traveling by road, carry a bottle of water. If you see a cop, hand over the bottle of water to that cop. Don't try to put off your ACs and then you will fall ill because you're not able to cope with that. Live a life which you can give you strength, help others. I'll give you one small example, and that relates to what you asked me. During COVID, there were a bunch of nice people that we worked with, and there are nice people everywhere. When the film industry reached out to us to say, we've got vanity vans, and can you do some help? We worked together on that. And there were 17 vanity vans which were given to us. And what do we do with vanity vans? We were helping needy with food, the migrants traveling. We got the vanity vans, we spoke to the Mumbai Police Commissioner, and we said, now when you saw this traffic policeman, all of us travel by road. When we see cops on the road, कभी तो सोचिए कि 5 मिनट मैं अगर धूप में खड़ा रहूंगा मेरी क्या हालत हो सकती है. लेकिन हम सोचते नहीं है, हम देखते जरूर हैं. Now that traffic cop, those stories stayed with us. During COVID, we didn't even let relatives come home. Doors were shut. Now imagine, where would traffic cops go? Where would they go to use a washroom? Men can use any tree. There are few of them left. What about women? What we did was, we asked the Mumbai police to say, give us 17 locations where the cops are posted. We got these vanity vans, we cleaned them up. We spoke to Parley, we got biscuits done. We spoke to Procter & Gamble, we got sanitary pad kits done. We made 17 safe washrooms for women cops. Now, no, please don't clap. This is not about clapping. This is about, a lot of people said, wow. It's not about wow, it's about elementary. Look around you, there are stories of what you can do. कुछ नहीं आता करने को तो एक किताब दे दीजिए, किसी के काम आ जाएगी, लाइब्रेरी शुरू हो जाएगी। कुछ नहीं आता किसी को धन्यवाद बोल दीजिए, कुछ नहीं आता किसी को पारी गिरा दीजिए, लेकिन कुछ कीजिए। Can I do my bit? I think it starts there. And our strength comes from a lot of people in Bombay who put up their hands the moment we say we'd like to help out. Are their hands to go up? Some of there's Dimple sitting there who's volunteered with me from day one. Okay, she's a chartered accountant, but she gives her time. There are lots of them here, professionals sitting, they say, I'm happy to help out. There is a kindness tone. It's just that we need to ask. Drop the courage and ask for help. Drop the courage and do your bit and help. Thank you.
You in the special chair. Now, Civic Studios has been consistently backing stories that have some sort of social impact or are raising social concerns. But this is the first time you've shifted to climate. So, is this a conscious shift, and what after this?
Thank you. It's definitely a very conscious decision. I think for this year, we at Civic Studios are very intentionally focusing on climate storytelling.
But we created a Vartavan, a speaker's corner. Anybody who wants to say something registers, gets 5 minutes free speaking time. Okay, so that's one. Second, for many of you who don't know what to do in the goodness space, start giving away your plastic waste, okay, saving it, donating it. This is what Project Mumbai volunteers do. We collect plastic waste from your homes. We convert them so that this doesn't go into a landfill. Okay, we have an initiative called Carpet. 30% of the landfills is from the clothes that you buy and discard. This pencil box is made from, again, the plastic waste that you order. Okay, and then you don't know where it's gone. Just be a little bit more mindful. This is not my job. You know, you might say, people call us a kachra wala, which is fine. As long as Rashi Saab said, next generation ke liye, lekin aapki generation ki nahi bachegi. Okay, start being a little more mindful. That's all it takes. Thank you very much.
Can I say something?
So yes, we are a model of public-private people partnership. We get the government involved, but the power of people is what I believe in. And you know, if you manage to get people like the lady there said, I can start, all of us getting together, suddenly if 50 people start saying, I will not, there will be somebody who will start taking heed. A lot of times throughout COVID, the government reached out to us. We were a 1-year-old organization. Why? Because citizens were with us. Okay, so there is a definite sense in strength. There are some battles you can't fight, so let's not fight those battles. But there are some battles you can. Let's fight those, because those quick wins will give us energy. You know, and then the energy will give us energy to fight more battles. Yeah. But there is a way, and I always believe, somewhere you need to start. Many of us stay back not knowing where to start. शुरुआत कहीं ना कहीं से हो जाएगी. Start a conversation, it will start from there.
Right. Yeah.
If I can just corroborate what he's saying, so during the pandemic, we sort of collaborated and spoke about doing things, and even I was active in the field. But our starting point was rage. We were like, the government is not doing enough. His starting point is always love. He's always inclusive. And that itself is a power that will only keep growing. It doesn't diminish. Rage diminishes. So I've seen that firsthand. Thank you.
I just want to add one more thing. I think yes, there is a lot of power in people coming together and doing this, but there is another way of most of my work actually goes the other way around. So I would work very closely with institutions or people in power, because a small change in policy here and there can affect a lot of people in one go. So there is a lot of power in what you're trying to do. But it's not to be said that there is no point engaging with power, right? But that's where those things obviously take time, and they used to be and sometimes may not even see the full story in many ways. But that work has to happen, and yes, you have a lot of things that you can do in your personal lives, but you also have a vote in your hand, which is ultimately the most powerful thing that you have. Right, and that I think is your biggest finger pointing in many ways. Yeah.
So I'm sorry. told us no, but there were two hands which did go up. So let's, because I think I always believe the voice should be heard. One voice here.
Needs to be done. And I feel that a lot of conversation end with plastic bottle and throwing garbage on the street, and that's really not even the tip of the iceberg, right? That doesn't even count. The issues are far deeper, far more systemic, and I feel that content like this, when it just goes to they and us, rich versus poor, and stops at carbon, I think we lose a lot of opportunity to really drive the nuance of what's actually going on, why it's happening, and what we can do. It's a much longer conversation, but I wish that more nuance is brought into the story so that people really understand what is happening, and we don't end with a very simplistic rich versus poor, west versus east, north versus south kind of dualities, which doesn't help us to explain anything and doesn't help us to solve anything.
So I completely with you. I'm just taking 10 seconds to respond. Every conversation is important. Today when 70, 100 people are sitting here, some of them were never exposed to even a subject like climate. Today they've been introduced to. I respect your point because climate is massive. This is the tip, but a tip also has a power.
Yes.
So this is the tip right now which we've introduced them to. As they start getting evolved, they'll become part of the larger conversation, and then maybe so there is a power in confrontation, but there's also power in collaboration. That's it. Yes, ma'am. The last question.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, okay. So hi, I am Nai.
Patronizing the audience. I think that's the most important thing to avoid.